people.
We're on live.
Kicking in now, that's right. Welcome to another Black Eyes TV 7 production. Today we have the divine feminine energy in the house in abundance. Yeah, dealing with relationships in life and business. I'm here with my co-host, Terry Riggs. Talk to them, my brother.
Hello. Everybody out there. It's a big day. We've got a whole heap of women from the US of A. And we need you lot to collaborate with the UK people. So I have a co-host here today called Monica. And she's going to do the full breakdown of how it seems in the US of A. So Monica, give us some information, enlighten our people out here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, hey. I want you to highlight the UK fans.
High five. So peace everybody who's listening now or maybe watching in the archives. I am Monica Lamb. Most people refer to me as Mo. Peace. Do y'all hear an echo?
Yeah.
Let me just mute the mics. I'm muting.
Okay, I think it's a little better now. Ready? Is your computer volume high? Okay, is that better? Okay, cool. All right. So again, peace everybody. I'm Monica Lamb. Everybody refers to me as Mo. And currently right now, I am residing in South Carolina in the USA. And I brought my sisterhood along with me. I think I'm the common denominator with everybody on the panel. And I think at this time we're going to introduce ourselves. So I run a business called Tri-City Visionaries, which is a not-for-profit organization with 501c3, which is a recognized tax-exempt organization. And we focus on repairing homes as well in 7 counties here in South Carolina. We also focus on teaching small businesses and nonprofit organizations how to organize and manage business, as well as teach the teens who are transitioning from high school into college, tech schools, military, or into entrepreneurship. And so I got introduced to the Dagger Squad with Garfield by participating or actually visiting an event that Sinetta had in New York. And so when I got introduced to Garfield, well, let me back it up. I actually was introduced to the Amira Squad with and then in turn was introduced to Garfield in reference to business. And so during that transition between being introduced to them, I got to meet Dr. Mayat, who is the CEO or co-founder of Ed Anime Productions. And I'll let Dr. Mayat introduce herself. And she also has the Tea Talk on Wednesdays where we do the Sisterhood show. And so I'll let Dr. Mayat introduce herself and Sister Riziki, because we all participate in the Tea Talk show.
Peace and power, sis. Thank you for that introduction. Peace and power to all the to the listening audience. My name is Dr. Oya Ma'at, and as my sister so eloquently stated, I am the co-founder and president of Ed Anime Productions. Ed Anime Productions is a Black-owned and operated company based in the USA in Baltimore City. And what we do is we create educational materials, educational tools for children, and particularly children of color. Our flagship project is called Meltrek, and Meltrek is an educational and animated hip hop series that teaches African history. And notice I said African history, not African American, African history from an African perspective. The goals of the Meltrek project are to clear up historical misconceptions regarding African people, because for centuries the world has been taught the myth of traditional Eurocentric teachings related to people of color. So one of our objectives or aims is to clear up those historical misconceptions. Another goal is to preserve African American history. Here in the US, we have major publishing companies who are altering African history in textbooks by omitting and distorting facts. So we want to preserve our history, or at least the sanctity of African American history. We also want to transform the self-perception and worldview of African American children. There are dozens of studies out there that show that the self-perception of African children has been drastically affected by Eurocentric education. All right, so we want to transform the self-perception and worldview of our babies. And our last aim is to project positive images of Africans into the national consciousness. So what we're trying to do with the Meltrek project is to essentially reshape and transform the worldview of its viewers. I hear echo. Okay, the worldview of his viewers. So currently we have Meltrek episode 1 and 2 available. In Meltrek episode 1, Meltrek episode 1 is called Exploring Ancient Africa. And in that episode, we teach children that the history of people of African descent does not begin with slavery. So that's the whole objective of Meltrek episode 1. And in Meltrek episode 2, the objective of that film is to teach people about the African presence in the Americas prior to Columbus. So if you're interested in getting these films for your children, which I highly recommend that you do, please visit edanimeproductions.com or simply go to the Google search bar and type in Meltrek, and all of the information that you need to order it will pop up. So I'm going to pass the mic, I guess, back to you, Sister Monica, so you can introduce the next sister.
All right, thank you, Dr. Marriott, for giving us that brief view on Meltrek. Then Dr. Marriott will be followed by Sister Riziki, who in turn I met on the Tea Talk show with the Sisterhood on Wednesdays with Dr. Marriott. So Sister Riziki.
Thank you very much, sis. Peace, power, and love to my brothers and sisters all across the globe, in the UK, here in the United States, in the chat room, and also if you're watching in the archives. But I am your sister, Riziki Zafira. I am a tantric healer and teacher, a certified Reiki practitioner, and a sidereal astrologer. I utilize my tools to help activate my clients to the highest and best version of themselves. A lot of my work in this arena has dealt with healing or using energy healing, as well as other modalities to assist with emotional trauma, sexual trauma, and sexual dysfunction in both men and women. And my goal is to really help clear a lot of the generational trauma that we as an African people have experienced. In turn, that translates into building better families, which also translates in us building our economical structure as a community. So again, I'm very passionate about my work. I am very serious about healing your future husband or your future wife or whoever that may be. My second company is Nature's Crown International, and it is a company that offers products and services in green and solar technologies. And, you know, again, I'm just all about health and wellness and advancing our mind, body, and spirit so that we can keep evolving as positive and productive human beings.
Hey, thanks, sis. And, you know, we always looking out for that one.
And also feel free to visit RizikIZafira.com. That's RIZIKIZAFIRA. Okay, that's it. Sorry, sis. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So thanks, Sister Riziki. Then I'll be followed by my financially focused team members, and that would be Ms. Sherry Sweets, then Cheryl Woodhouse, and Lakeisha Lau. So you up next, Sherry.
Like Mo said, I am in my econ, and what we try to do is teach financial literacy, and I do that by way of training everybody on how to fill out the W-4 correctly. So if you have a 9-to-5 job, I will help you to ensure that if you're leaving any money on the table, I will help you to realize that so you can change your W-4 and get money back instantly in your paycheck. I'm also a veteran. I also do standalone claims. So I help any veteran that got out that feel like they want to put in for a disability issue. I would look at that with them and also help guide them to get them the proper VA benefits that they need. So if you got any questions, you can email me at Sherry Sweet, that's SHERRI Sweet, SWEET at MSN.com. Thank you. And I'll be followed by Cheryl Woodhouse.
Hello. My name is Cheryl Woodhouse, and I do line dancing, and I bring line dancing to the financial world because, of course, you know, if you're making money, you want to dance about it and be happy. So I come and I will teach line dance. I do weddings. I do any kind of corporate or organizational functions. I teach you step by step. So that's one piece. And then the second piece, in my professional world, I do top secret clearance as well as all security clearances. And I can help a person that's trying to come in the military or trying to get a job that requires a top secret clearance. A lot of the investigators require information that a lot of times you're not familiar with. So I help you get over those humps that the investigator is going to ask you so that you don't get caught up. They're not trying to catch you up. It's just that you got to know what things you need to say to make sure that they document you right so that you can get that clearance. It doesn't even matter if you have debt. If you have debt, you just got to know how to document your debt so that they see that you're making an effort to pay. And that could be as simple as paying $10 a month. It don't matter if they asking for $100. It's all in the wording. So if you have any issues or you want to get a clearance, a job that requires a clearance, you can contact me through Mo and them, or you can contact me at clwepw1122@gmail.com. And to include, let's not leave out the dancing. That's my favorite. So if there's any dancing you would like to have done in any of your functions, same thing, you can reach me at that email. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sherry and Cheryl, and they'll be followed by Lakeisha Lau. Keisha, where you at?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lakeisha. You all can call me Keisha for short. I am now on my home-based business. Like Monica said, my econ personal financial success. I also help, like Miss Cheryl and Miss Sherry said, with debt elimination, income shifting, investments, correcting your W-4s, trying to get, add more allowances to it the correct way, not the legal way. I am from Louisiana and I am new to the business, but I am loving everything I'm doing and I'm looking forward to learning more about my econ and what else I can learn from these ladies.
Peace. All right, peace, Keisha. Okay, so that was my financially focused team sisters. And so now my other partners, not in crime, but in all the legal ways possible, is Miss Cheryl Stevenson, and she also is on Black News 102 and the Dagger Squad with the government contracts in Garfield. So Cheryl, take it away.
Sister Cheryl.
Can you hear me, my sister?
Sister Cheryl was supposed to go.
I'm not sure whether she can hear us. Her mic's unmuted.
I can hear you, Miss Cheryl.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't know what happened. Okay, well, I'll start over. My name is Cheryl Stevenson, and my company name is Stevenson Workshop and Seminar Solutions, and we assist companies with getting government contracting. So we do small, just starting up businesses or companies that are already up and running. We assist you with getting a government contract. I also work with Mo. She, of course, assists with getting the financial part together. But my part is locating contracts for you, putting those bid packages together, making sure that your pricing is right so that you have a great chance of winning a contract. You can contact me at stevensonbusinesssolutions.com. You can also email me at mo-cheryl, Cheryl, at stevensonconsultants.com. All right, Mo.
Thanks, Sharon. Go ahead and put that in the chat so brothers can put it in the YouTube chat because someone was asking for it. All right, and then last but not least, my line dance sister, business partner, best friend, Miss Chanisa Brown, and she's actually linked to everything I do, so that's why I saved her for last. So Miss Chanisa with CP Johnson Enterprise.
Can't hear you right now, my dear. Still muted. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Go into settings, maybe, and change your mic settings, perhaps. Okay, she's dropped.
Hold on, hold on a second. Go ahead. I'm back.
Oh, sister, we can hear
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Go right ahead now.
Awesome. We're good? Okay, good. My name is Chanisa Brown, and as Monica stated, I am connected to her in just about everything that she does. I help her with Tri-City Visionaries, but I also have my own company, CP Johnson Enterprises, and with that company, I umbrella everything that I do up under that. I am also a part of my econ, so I have all my econ sisters on the panel. I have a health and wellness company where I deal with detox teas and essential oils, all 100% therapeutic. I also help in teaching with businesses on how to start small businesses or nonprofit organizations. I teach preparing business documentations for those who, like I say, are in the process of starting up, but you need to know exactly how to prepare the documentation so that your file, your grant, your proposal, whatever it is that you have won't end up in file 13. I also line dance, so I'm connected with Monica and Cheryl through the line dance. And like she said, partner in crime, best friend forever and a day. And I am just honored to be on your panel. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone, again. We got a very today. Me and Terry are honored to have you all on. So let's jump right in now. Again, the title of the show is Relationships in Life and Business and Bridging the Gap between the US to the UK. Yeah, so we know that our American people them have had the knowledge given to them from your platforms that you've talked about you're doing. And obviously the laws are slightly different here in the UK as opposed to the US of A. But let's start off with some of the fundamental basics in business building and especially organizational building, institutional wise, because the last sister she mentioned charities, you know, and such. And we actually did a show yesterday that was talking about certain community things that have been going on in London and the lack of institutions and certain businesses to help bolster the community. So I don't know who's going to jump in first, but let's start off there. Let's start off with dealing with the common factors that are needed for businesses and institutions, especially obviously in our own community, the Black community, which is fragmented at the best of times. So what are some of the basic rules of thumb, so to speak, that we need to be cultivating? Who wants to take this one to begin with?
Dr. Maya, you want to tackle that one? The schools?
There it is. Okay. Could he repeat the question? I'm sorry, sis. Can he repeat the question? He said, where should we begin?
We're trying to deal with the common rules that regardless of whether or not we're in the US or we're in the UK, we can start to follow when it comes to building a business or building an organization or charity of some such. What are the first common things that we all need to be following as Black people when we're trying to do these endeavors in our community? Let's deal with the business side first.
I was just getting ready to say that we need to take control of the educational process of our children. In fact, I was just discussing this on Facebook yesterday. So before we even, in order to groom entrepreneurs, in order to create our own economic system, right, we had to take control of the educational process, meaning that we had to cultivate and develop an educational process that will teach our children or develop the thinking and creative abilities of our children. We also, and then we can create an economic system. So we got to start with the babies. And I think that's why Sister Monica said, Dr. Ma'at, because I'm a huge, proponent of African-centered education. And I think that we need to establish a global educational process. And that is what our ancestors, such as not John Henry Clark, but Dr. Amos Wilson advocated. He advocated for some sort of global education system. Sister Monica, give me 1 second. My son is getting ready to leave out. I need to say something to him before he leaves.
That's fine.
That's real life. We're all mothers and parents here on this panel.
Absolutely. Sister Riziki, you wanted to chime in next? Okay, I'll go. So in reference to from the business perspective, go ahead. You ready?
Yeah. I don't know what happened to my mic. So, and I can see the order this is about to go, and I wanted to hop in right after Dr. Mayat, because she's absolutely right in dealing with education, but even for myself and like the healing work that I do, and I'm not sure how it is in the UK based on the historical, happenings of the people, but especially here in the US, and I'm sure everywhere, we have what I call a scarcity mindset. And this scarcity mindset is what makes us as Black people not trust each other in business. And then we also may have a tendency to not do right by each other in business. I also feel that there needs to be more pride in professionalism. And, again, just really understanding what cooperative economics really means, and how having a systematic or a group think, a group concept, everybody being on one accord really plays a huge part in economics. My personal belief, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, is some of the things that I've stated is some of the major factors as to why, as a nation of people, we have an issue prospering in business together, because we're operating from a scarcity mindset instead of an abundant mindset. We're operating from an individualistic mindset instead of a communal mindset, if you will. So That's my take on it. There's a lot of heat, in that area.
And sis, that mindset again begins with your educational process. So
Absolutely.
that's why the educational process is very, very important. And I'm back. Forgive me for having to step out. But that's why that educational process is extremely important, because, you know, we need to develop an educational process that's going to, A, teach us who we are, and B, empower us, right? And so like you just said, we need to shift our thinking from individualistic to communal. Where will that happen? Well, that will happen within the educational process when we're teaching our children to work in groups instead of working, you know, in school, they tell us work by yourself, independent workers. So in school, they cultivate that mentality of independency. You know, so they'll say work independent, do your own independent work, do your independent research. But that mentality that you speak of can be cultivated cultivated by the educational process. So, you know, when we talk about bridging the gap between, you know, the UK or USA or, you know, wherever, I think that in order for us all to get on the same page, that we all need to create and adopt the same educational process. You know, you get what I'm saying? So that we will produce the same mindset across the board.
Yes, definitely. Sister Cheryl Woodhouse, can you speak from the security perspective of that bridging the gap from education to security? Because sometimes we miss out from the youthful ages on how important it is to make sure that from a security perspective, because when you grow up and you want to get involved with these different jobs or these different business ventures, that security piece plays a big part in keep people from elevating in a certain manner.
Your mic's muted.
We can't hear you, sis. Okay, yeah, we can't hear you. Sister Cheryl, can you speak it from the business perspective? Because you've actually worked in the high schools where in the state of Texas, where you were actually teaching students how to do business with the government. Can you want to speak to some of the strengths as well as the weaknesses? Yes, but also some of the strengths, to bridge that between education and actual business based on some of the lines that Sister Riziki and Dr. Maya spoke about.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I have a program in Texas where we teach kids how to get government contracts. And the way that program works is they start off just learning about financial responsibilities. We teach them, hey, this is what you need to do with your money. This is how you can invest. But we teach them about business. Yes, you need your high school diploma. And if you would like to go forward and get a degree, that would be great too. But our kids graduate as CEOs. So they'll have their high school diploma in one hand and then their CEO documents in the other hand. They actually leave that program with the contract in tow, so that once they start out on their own, they already know, hey, I know how to do government contracting. This is what I'm doing. So we're teaching them about how to make that work. And you was asking me what else, Monica?
Yes, that's the piece I wanted you to speak in, and I was going to come from behind that piece in reference to.
Oh, okay. And as far as the security part of it.
No, it was.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you have to have good, Yeah, because you do. Okay, you do. I'm sorry. You do have to have good credit. You do have. You cannot have a background. So as far as making sure that they can pass those security measures and dealing with the government, they check all of that. So we make sure that they know how important it is to pretty much just keep a clean record, make sure your credit is good, and make sure you know how to own and operate a business. Just all around professionalism. This is what they're learning in our program. And this is them coming from middle school all the way up to high school and graduating and actually running a full-fledged business.
Absolutely. And so what I want to say, reference from the business perspective, one of the pieces that, because we are, well, here in the USA, or in the US, or however they're referring to us now, we have a huge issue with the kids learning financial literacy in school. And so by the time they try to understand business or to organize and manage business in their adulthood, they're impatient, they mismanage money, they commingle funds. And so when you're talking about expanding or even bridging from another country, working international or global, they don't really understand how to separate accounts or separate funding, or not to operate from a business perspective and a personal perspective. And so I think when we talk in reference, even from our Afrocentricity and doing things together, what you do in your home, you do in the school systems as well as business. In order to mirror that, we have to be able to teach our kids along the lines of how we learn. And what's happening is when we go into our schools, I'm not familiar with how the UK does stuff, but I know that when individuals come from overseas to the US, even if it's an exchange program, when we merge together, they're more advanced. And they're advanced because their education, they're getting information on a lower level that we have to go to college to get, when in actuality, our kids should be learning earlier on. But we can't control that side of the system because we continue to put our kids into public education. So when we speak, so when we talk about bridging the gap and we're talking about how can we actually make this work and work better, I like the way Dr. Mayat put it. If we control our educational perspective of it and what our babies are learning, then we can actually teach them in a manner that they can learn from a global perspective, as opposed to learning from a county or a city. What's going on in your county? What's going on in your city? When everybody else is trying to do business overseas, we're just trying to do business within our local neighborhood. So we can't talk exporting and importing, because that will go quickly over our babies' heads. So I think that from an educational perspective or a business perspective, that we need to get information out to the younger generation earlier than we do in adulthood. And then it will kind of help elevate your business perspective later on when you're trying to bridge the gap across the waters.
Definitely. Terry, I don't know whether you're there, whether you want to interject.
Yeah. You sound a bit low. Is it your computer?
Is it me? Am I sounding low?
Yeah.
How about now? You got me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, talk to me. You got people then?
Yeah, no, I'm just listening to what they've been saying, and you know, as we all know from history, you know, like as I always say, you know, like when the Romans took the firstborn of every child and took them back to Rome and taught them the Roman way, and then brought them back to their homeland. It's the same system that we continue to do in this day and age, especially in the UK. A lot of us don't teach our kids or influence our children, but we seem to send them to the same school to learn the English way. And this is where the problem begins, because we don't put them into that kind of where the Afrocentric or African diaspora education, because if you understand from the past, you understand that we used to trade from grassroots. You was taught to sell the smallest thing to the biggest thing. You taught through families, through the mothers and things like that. So I get where they're coming from, and it's similar, it's a mirror reflection of what is happening over here. So what do you think, Rich?
Definitely. Listen, I'm in total agreement right now. And the next thing I really want to speak to, because as Terry was saying, you know, we need to educate, as you're saying, at home, and as the sisters have made that point. But that takes having a relationship with your children, which again seems to be lacking a lot in today's society. So, you know, let's speak on that point. You know, the relationship that you have to cultivate with your children and in your household to create an environment where you can educate, where you can reinforce some of the things that you want to teach and impart to your children.
Because especially when children are having children and making them into friendship.
Yes, Sister Sherry, are you there? You have a son that you actually raised partially overseas in the Germany area as well as back in the USA. You want to speak to how you and your son's relationship and how, you know, how he is where he is today. I'll let you tell your own story.
All right. We still can't hear you, my dear.
So some people can hear through the headphones. Say it again, Sherry.
Speak now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Okay. Like Mo was saying, I basically chose to raise my son overseas because I just felt that was a better place for him growing up at the time. I was a single parent. I was in the military, and I can tell you right now, I was totally 100% hands-on with my son. He's actually doing very well. He's 32 years old. He's at
I think she's gone.
Yeah, she's gone. Go ahead, Dr. Mayat. You have your sons, and you guys are actually working on business together as well as some other education ventures. You want to speak to that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was trying to give the sisters, you know, some time to get her thoughts out, and she began with a very powerful statement. She said, "I was completely hands-on with my child." We had to understand that, you know, the foundation of a child is the family. And so when the family structure is disorganized, then so will be the child. So, you know, your child learns. There's the sister. Go ahead. There she is. I'll let her go ahead. I'll let her finish.
Okay, I apologize. I truly don't know what happened. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, like I was saying, I chose to raise my son overseas from the age of 6 till he graduated from college. He was in Germany. And I just felt with everything that was going on in the United States, I chose to raise him in that atmosphere. But I can tell you he's doing very well. And I was 100% hands-on. I did have a group of people, great people to help me along the way. But I feel it's very crucial that as parents, whether we're one family, two family, however, that we are totally engaged. I see today that a lot of parents, they are choosing to be friends versus parents with their children today. So it's very, very important. And I was a single parent almost his entire life. So I know it can be done, but we just gotta change our mindset as parents. And even with the young parents today, I try to be very active with younger parents to help them along the way, to help them to see better ways to raise their kids other than just being friends with their kids. They have to actually be parents.
Before Dr. Mayat comes in behind Sister Sherry, we got Lakeisha. Lakeisha is like the youngest one on the panel. She's only like 22 from a linear perspective, and so I just want to give her to share her perspective from a child, from parenting. What does she think that could some of the things that we could do different from a parenting perspective, or what are some things she thought was some strengths? And then Dr. Mayat, you could come in, and Cheryl Woodhouse, I want you to chime in too, because you have a son as well, and Miss Janisa on that subject.
Okay.
Cheryl, Stevenson, don't forget about you. Go ahead, Lakeisha.
Lakeisha. Can you hear us?
We can't hear you either. What's going on?
Can you hear
Okay.
us?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you now, Lakeisha.
I am the youngest one of the group. I am 22. I just had a son last year. He is 1. So the whole parenting thing is new to me. And the fact, I mean, the education piece is always something I worried about because I was raised in Louisiana and I moved to South Carolina with Monica after I graduated. And just being in the United States, I had to retake simple courses like reading and math to even start my college classes. Like I had to go back and take a high school reading and math class. That's how bad the school systems are out here. So the fact that Miss Sherry said that she raised her son overseas is like amazing to me because I've always thought about just going out at a different state or something, but overseas is awesome because the fact is there's more to learn. I feel like the people in the US or maybe just in my state, because I can't speak for every state, but in Louisiana, the education is not taken as serious as it should be taken. And that's something that I have been looking into for my son, even though he's 1, but I've been thinking about, you know, trying to go away, not out of the country like Miss Sherry did, of course, but just somewhere better for my son to have a better education and a better chance at, you know, a better chance at life, period.
Go ahead, Dr. Maya. Thanks, Lakeisha. I thought that was very important, provided that you are the youngest. And, you know, we like to say that the millenniums are like they don't know anything. So you kind of fight both battles where we're actually coaching and training you and trying to treat you like a kid. And then you're actually raising a kid. Someone asked in the chat, before Dr. Maya, I'm sorry, but someone asked in the chat about daughters. I think we have this dilemma on, is it easier to raise or build that relationship with males? How about our females out there, our daughters? How are we doing with actually bridging the gap and creating a relationship with our daughters? So Sherry, then Dr. Mayat, Cheryl Woodhouse, and then Sister Riziki.
You know you're making my
Okay, Cheryl doesn't want to come out to play. Go ahead, Dr. Mayat.
Oh, she said Cheryl.
Oh, you talking about Cheryl Stevenson? Sherry. I mean,
I
Mo,
think we're having some volume. Oh.
Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead, Cheryl.
Okay, I just wanted to tap back before I go to that question. I want to tap back to that previous question that you couldn't hear me because it kind of relates to the kids as well when we're talking about security clearance and the age. Anytime you're going for a clearance, one of the first questions they ask you is they say, have you ever and in the last 7 years? So if we think about our children that are 18 years old, go back 7 years, we're talking about 11 years old. So if you have a child that's kind of like getting in trouble at 11, 12, 13, at them teenage years, those are those years that's going to affect him when he goes to apply for a security clearance. So what you want to do is make sure you try to keep the child straight as much as possible through their young teenager years, because it's going to make a big difference in high school as well as on to college or in the military. That's what I was trying to get out when you guys couldn't hear me. Now, going back to the child, yes, Sherry and our son grew up together kind of in Germany after we both were in the military and overseas together. But the thing with the kids, you starting at 4 and 5, I had my children while being in the military, and just thinking back on their education and trying to keep them straight and teaching them how to count with pennies and pinto beans and whatever it is that they like, macaroni and cheese. We took the noodles, and when he had to do math and he had a hard time with timetables, we used noodles, stuff that they like to use to do the math and add. So when you think about also the military, they send us away to schools. I happen to be the military person, not my husband. So I left to go to school, and it was up to my husband to keep them up on homework. It's done. So if you don't kind of start on in the military, you can't depend on the teachers always to do it. We got to start with them in the home. So being a military brat, it teaches us discipline. It teaches us education if we decide to take it on. And with that, you got to pass it on to the kids. So I was always talking to Montreal and Jarrell about education and to better themselves. And even when they told me they don't want to go to school, they want to just do something else, I would tell them, well, you need to go to school. You got to do something educational wise to keep yourself straight. I just happen to have one of my oldest son is into journalism. So he was always doing a lot of research. He was doing poems, and a lot of his poems wasn't written about roses are red, violets are blue. He was writing about life in his poems, and they didn't always rhyme. And I used to wonder, why are you writing poems and they don't rhyme? He said, Mom, there's a method to the madness. And then he became a rapper. And in his rapper, he was really rapping about education. So the oldest one helped the youngest one to be able to see and make him follow. Now, how they turn out is beyond on them, but as long as you give them the foundation and start them off with education, purchase them little abacus things that count, keep them with educational toys, not always the little water guns and stuff, but education. And from now to this point, driving financial literacy, and the key is you just got to do it, because as you see, ain't nobody gonna teach us about money. We're 55 years old and we still learning about money and finances, thanks to Mo and Sherry and the rest of the crew out there. That's all.
Also, who's next in the order of speaking, sisters?
Dr. Maya.
Raziki or Dr.
Maya? Sister Raziki can go, or I can go. It doesn't matter. Sister Raziki?
Sorry, you're on now. Talk to us.
Yeah, I can go.
You wanted to go, sis? Because I know that you said you had to cut out a little early, so I wanted to let you. All right.
Thank you. And just to repeat the question again, I'm sorry, so I have the fresh.
We were talking about child rearing and how parents need to be more hands-on with their children. And the great mother, she was saying how she took her son over to Germany.
Yes. Okay.
And raised him there.
Okay.
You know, and okay.
Absolutely. So, okay. So this is, you know, I'm gonna apply some pseudo and then some like real experience stuff. So first, I definitely got to give a round of applause for Sister Cheryl or Sherry, I believe, because being a military brat, traveling to different states and different countries really helped develop the person I am. I can get along with anybody. I can go anywhere in the world and conduct business or a conversation, whatever have you, and blend right on in like I've been there forever. I also, as far as the child rearing thing, and with the sister next to you, I'm sorry, I'm terrible on names, but she made a valid point about really allowing children to show you who they are. Like a lot of parents will force our children to try to be this thing that we think that they should be, and then wonder why they're rebelling or they're not living to that potential because that's not them. And when I talked about my pseudo work, okay, for instance, in our old traditions, there was a lot of ways that elders was able to consult the ancestors or whatever and tell the parents like, hey, listen, this child came into this life with this, and their purpose is geared towards this. Well, in my work, I kind of do the same thing using, you know, sidereal astrology. So there are some children who come here and they're big on art. There's some children here and they have a mind of an engineer. There are some children here who are really meant to be workers, and they're the ones who build and construct and all that stuff. Okay, divination. Thank you, Dr. Mayat. So another thing with being hands-on is don't be afraid to seek out some sort of divination. I don't care what belief system you're in, but really take the time to understand who you brought forth into this world. Understand how you need to cultivate them based on the environment, not only that you were brought up in, and maybe also the stuff you need to heal from. Because a lot of our parenting skills, especially when we don't do a good job, is because of the pain we suffered from our own childhood. So I do think it's very important that Dr. Mayat focuses on the children because they are our future. But I like to focus on the adults because they are our present, like right now. And so as Sister Cheryl said, I think it's beautiful to have a community of older mothers teaching and guiding these younger mothers, because they don't have an idea. And just like my mom always said, parenting doesn't come with a handbook, which, you know, I understand that, but a lot of these girls don't even have their own mom to talk to. So in my mind, I don't care if they're biologically yours or not. I just feel as a community, we need to be hands-on with these children and these young adults, period, because sister or Dr. Mayat may have a certain strength in her motherhood area that Sister Cheryl may not. You know what I'm saying? And we have to be okay with these things. We have to be okay with saying, hey, listen, I don't know this pertaining to my child. I'm not strong in this area pertaining to my child. So it's okay to go to somebody else or look for that communal upbringing for children. So that's my take on it. And I hope that made sense. My client is here, so I have to go. Peace and love, and thank you for having me on the panel.
Thank you, sister, for joining us. Yeah, much
Oh,
appreciated.
she's leaving me.
but if we're done early, I'll come back. So I'm about to get started. Okay, peace.
Okay, peace, sis. Thank you. Thank you for that, though, sis. And, you know, both of these sisters said some powerful things. I want to go back to what Sister Cheryl was saying earlier when she said, as mothers, we have to be hands-on with our children. I am completely hands-on with my child. And I think that with the new mothers or the mothers of today, we just have these children and then we give them over to a system. We allow a system to mold and shape their minds, you know, and then we get disappointed at the outcome of the system. But I say to those parents that if we were more hands-on, we should be the ones molding and shaping the minds of our babies, not a system. And so what we do is we have children, and what do? We send them through an educational process that we don't own or control. Then when they come home to us, we allow them to sit in front of the television. So what is the television doing? The television is also molding and shaping the minds of our babies. And then we let them listen to the radio. We let them explore the internet. So who's really molding and controlling the minds of your child? It's not you. It's no longer the parents. It's the educational system. It's the media. And then who controls the media? The Jews. So really you have Jews that are molding and shaping the minds of our babies. And then over here in the US, you have middle-aged white women middle-aged white women who are in the classrooms. I believe I was looking at some statistics online from the Department of Education, and they said that 81% of the public school teachers are white women between the ages of 30 and 39. So what are you saying, Dr. Ma'at? I'm saying that you have European females, you have Jewish controlled media molding and shaping the minds of our children. So I always tell parents, we have to get back our power. We have to be in control of the conditioning process of the minds of our babies, because we need to make our children, mold them to be people who benefit our families, people who benefit our communities, people who benefit the global African race. That's what we need to be doing right now. And that's not happening. So that's why I always emphasize that the educational process is very important. Developing an educational process is very important for our children, and we have to get hands-on. So with my children, my youngest son, he's 7. Every morning when we get up, we don't turn on the television, we don't turn on the radio. We read a book. Then after we read books, I'm teaching them how to count money. I'm teaching them about business and financial literacy. I'm not waiting on the public school system to educate my child. So education starts in the home. You get what I'm saying? And we have to understand how important family culture is. Our children are not coming out they're not coming from families that have culture that allows them to thrive and survive in this world. So we have to get our families organized. That's the only way we can get our communities organized. It starts at home, and it starts with our families first. Sister Raziki said that she talked about the village being involved, and she's 100% correct. We can't do it by ourselves. There are a lot of single mothers out here who are trying, but like she said, I mean, these mothers can only do what they can do. It does take a village to raise a child. And right now, with the village being, disorganized, you see what type of children we're producing. So we have to get our family structures in order. We have to get our communities in order in order to build our babies.
Definitely. And I just need to interject again a quick point, because everything that's being said is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I know the viewing public is appreciating everything that you sisters are bringing to the table right now. But I would be amiss if I didn't say to the men out there, the fathers like myself, again, confer with your brothers, look for support with your brothers, get suggestions, just like how these sisters are talking, because I think sisters naturally come together speak on their children, speak about a lot more living situations. But again, there's a certain stigma attached because a lot of relationships are broken, and a lot of men haven't seen their kids for the amount of time they may have wanted to, or they've been out of the scene. And again, they're very shy to talk amongst themselves about ways to deal with their children better, more efficiently. So that is something I just want to interject there and just slide in there out to my brothers and my fellow fathers, that again, we need to come together and speak amongst ourselves, just like how the sisters are talking, yeah, on best ways to communicate with our children, best ways to spend our time if we're not with the mothers in the household, with the kids. Because obviously, you know, when you're not with your children and you only have a certain amount of time to see your children, you know, you're tempted to just be fun, or, you know, these kinds of roles. So again, it's key and vital for us as men to also take what these sisters are saying on board and speak amongst ourselves on these same issues. But yeah, go ahead, sisters, continue.
And brother, I just wanted to add that as parents, we have to create opportunities for our children, you know, so definitely being hands-on and then creating opportunities for our children. What do you mean, Dr. Ma'at? What I'm saying is I didn't start Ed Anime Productions by myself. I co-founded that company with my children, my sons who are 18, well, 17 and 18, 18-year-olds getting ready to turn 19. They're my vice presidents. I don't want to have children. I don't want my children to have to go out in this world and compete for a job, beg for a job. That's not, you get what I'm saying, brother. We got to, as parents, create opportunities for our children. So this business, like I tell them all the time, I established this business for them so that they can have financial security. You get what I'm saying? I didn't raise my children to go get educated and go out here and beg for a job or compete for a job. What I did was say, hey, we're going to establish a business and I'm going to teach you how to create jobs. So my 17-year-old in Baltimore City right now gives workshops on entrepreneurship to adults and other teenage, you know, young adults and other children. And so we gotta, as parents, we gotta create opportunities for our babies. I'm so tired of let me send my child to school, go get a job, you know, get a good education, go get a job. We need to be establishing our businesses for our babies and employing our babies.
Definitely.
So creating opportunities for our children. I just wanted to add that.
No,
Yeah.
That's 100%. Terry, you got something to say, brother?
No, just that you know, like, as my parents are from Africa itself, and it's something that has been taught from inside. Like, you get my grandfather who will buy the land, who would say to his sons or his daughters, build a house on the land. So, and able to do a form of a family network of economics within the household. So we get taught from young, like one person will be doing the sweeping, one person will be doing the washing, one person will be doing the shopping. So it brings a kind of an economical system within the household. So then when we take that out into forms of business, we all have our roles to play. So it's all that teamwork within the African diaspora.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Speak on that, Dr. Ma'at. Speak on that some more about the way the family is a business.
Yeah, the family is business. The family, I always tell my sons that the family, we should be the bank. I was telling my sons that you shouldn't have to go out here and worry about a credit score and, oh, let me apply, you know, let me make sure my credit score is good and let me apply for a loan at a bank. I hope the bank doesn't. You should be able to go to your family and say, look, let's pull together our resources and let's start this family business. You know, it's like, you know, I look at a lot of families, and I'm particularly talking about families over here in the U.S. Everyone has skills. You know, you got educators in your family. You got people who are office personnel or administrators or accountants or lawyers. We need to pull together our resources and start our own businesses. And you can do that right with your family. I started an a company that creates educational products for children. I am an engineer. That's my specialty. I am an engineer. So my specialty is math, science, and technology. But my mother was a school principal for 35 years. So she helped me develop a curriculum for Meltrek, content for Meltrek. I mean, do you get what I'm saying? So for the Meltrek project, I utilized the talents and skills of people in my family to produce this project. And we didn't go outside the family, even for Meltrek episode 1, and Sister Monica can attest to this. Everybody was from the family, from the voices to the producers to the researchers. It's a family project. And so family is business. Family is where you learn how to conduct business. Family is relationships. Family is where you get your culture from. So family is very important. Family is the foundation of the foundation of a human being. And so if the family is disorganized, then I doubt if that human being will reach his or her full potential if the family is disorganized, because the family is the foundation. Monica?
Yes, I definitely like to attest to that, Dr. Maya. One thing.
Hold up.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, sis.
Mute some mics. 1 second. Go on, my dear.
Yeah, peace and love again. You go ahead.
Wait. Try now, my sis.
Yes, peace and love, bro. Can you hear me? No, not yet.
Can I add one more thing, sis, too, while you're getting that together, Sister Monica? And I just want to say also to the viewers that we got to start treating our children like it's a mind that we're developing. I feel like we treat our children like material, like let me clothe it, let me shelter it, let me give it food. And we have to understand that we are developing a mind. This is a mind that you are developing. And so, when I look at my children, I wonder what's going on in their mind. I'll ask them, what are you thinking? Or I try to reason with them rather than beat them and yell at them. I try to reason with them because I look at them as a mind, not a piece of material that I feed and clothe and shelter. So with our babies, we have to realize that we are cultivating minds. And that is a huge, huge responsibility when you are a parent. I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. Can you hear me now, sis?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yes, that's a great point for me to come in on. I don't have any kids, however, with my niece and nephews and my cousins, we actually do little projects. And one of the things we did last night was we did vision boards. And the youngest person in the house is 8 years old, which is my nephew. And then the oldest person is 60, but no one is excluded to participate. And so what I noticed in the past, when I would try to exclude my nephew or my niece because they were younger, they sat around, like every time we got together to try to put team, because I'm all about team projects, they would come and they want to participate. So they put their vision boards together, and you would think the information that they put on their vision board that it has no rhyme or reason. However, they can tell you exactly what and why they put certain information, which is leading up to a particular career or owning a business. And I say that to say this, I totally agree with cultivating kids and teaching them on how to get involved, in particularly business. As the brother said earlier, back in the day, we used to use the barter system where we traded with one another. If you're in business right now, I can tell you, especially if you're going after any type of grants, and it's federal grants, or you're doing anything on a high scale from government, they want to know whether or not you have a support system. Like, who are you working with? Is it just you? Are you working with the local and state government? Are you partnered? Most of the federal grants now, if you're not partnered with anyone, or even in your local community, if you're not partnered to tackle a project, they're not really scoring you high when you're actually trying to get grants to do community development. And so what I started doing was, one thing I started doing was training, because inside, whether it's educational related or is business related, inside of a business or a family is a component, as Dr. Maya talked about, of, and Sister Sherry, of hands-on. I think that because we have access to information, that we are expecting the youth or our kids or our business partners to understand and know all the facets of what we're trying to do. Most of us have been put in places or have been or worked in different jobs or traveled to different countries. So you understand diversity, you understand organizations, you understand management, you also understand personalities, culture. If you don't really know how to bring that together and then teach it from the ground up, what happens is you get frustrated. So you start treating children like adults, and then children act like they're adults until they get put in an adult situation from a family perspective or a business perspective. So what we tried to do when we realized that we were going to be doing business, and we had folks asking us from a global perspective, like, hey, how can I do this business overseas, or how can we bridge this relationship, is that we realized that anybody can start the business, anybody can have kids, but do you know how to really grow someone or influence them or create a particular impact with different information, or get them to sit long enough to even want to even learn the information, like you creating an environment. And so what we did was, one of the things that we did, Cheryl and Chalisa and I have done, is we created training hubs now. Like, you can't just start business and then we expect you get this $1 million contract and then we expect you to go on your merry way. No, because in business, there's compliance rules. Same thing like as in life with growing up from childhood to adult. A lot of our kids are growing up from just a financial perspective, and the only thing they want to do is make money. I have to have, I got to get a job. I gotta buy these latest fashions. I have to buy that. And then when they get a job and you tell them, hey, listen, you got expenses. So if you're gonna make $100, then out of this $100 that you make, all of it is not a profit. 10% of that money needs to go towards some utilities. Another 10% of this money need to go towards food. Another 10% need to go towards shelter. Just breaking down a budget of how, just so from the social perspective of family or a budget from a business perspective, all matters. And so sometimes I find that when you're trying to teach people, especially adults, or you're trying to teach children, is that you have to cover all facets of life. You can't just, it's hard work, but most people won't educate themselves to get there. So I totally agree with Sister Ezekiel when she speaks in terms of, I have to deal with my adults in my now. Dr. Maya, I have to deal with the youth. Dr. Govan, I have to deal with the youth, and Cheryl with her business in the high schools. But all in all, we need all of it. And I think with the sisterhood, one of the strongest pieces about the sisterhood and these ladies that I'm affiliated with is that if I'm dealing with the financially focused team as sisters, we show a strong front in numbers, but we also have a social relationship with one another. Like, you can't just say, oh, they only deal on business, and then when they're not, when they're not doing my econ, they don't hang out together. I think the same thing is relevant with families, is that the families, when they come out in public or they're doing something in the public, they put on this front of hunky-dory, everything is fine. But then in the household, it's total chaos. Everything has to work in harmony. And I think it starts with you actually, or a family, actually creating a culture within their own home, and then not bending the rules of standards that they've created through themselves, being true of voice, having those principles and values that really matter, that you hold deep to. Mine is communication, consistency, and commitment. Like, if you don't communicate and you're not consistent and you're not committed, then we like beat it in your head. Like if you come into my household, if you're not that person, then you will have a hard time with me, because it doesn't matter how much contention we have. I'm gonna be in your face and we're gonna be doing something until either one or two things. You're gonna leave my house or I kick you out because you just can't conform. But then I realized that if I have children, I can't really get rid of them, right? Somebody gotta keep them in the house. So then I would be relying very heavily on my spouse to be that balance, because being a veteran, I'm hard charging. Like, I know values. It was put in our hand day one. I come up out of a household of values. Like, you don't have a choice. You walk in my mama's house, from the time you tell the trail from the door to the back room, it better be clean. You going in and you coming out. There is no I forgot. There is no I didn't think about it. Like, the family values are very strong, and I didn't think that I actually had that until I got my own house. Like, everything they instilled in me, I bring out. So when I have to teach my little cousins or my niece and nephew, they look at me like, what are you doing? Why? Because me and then other components of my family, we don't have the same traits. And so some people just kind of let it go. And I think that, I think Dr. Mayat made the point that as a community, if we all have the same like values and morals, like I wouldn't have to, if I visited Dr. Mayat's home, she wouldn't have to tell me, Monica, don't be going up in my refrigerator just eating all my food. Because from a respect level, I know not to do that. If our kids came along, they knew not to do that. So she wouldn't really have to worry about that. If I went to Sister Sherry's house, that is spotless, it's over the ramming list spotless. Like when you walk from the time you walk in her yard to the back house. So when you recognize that, you can come to the conclusion that, wow, these sisters, they families raised them right. And then now they're raising their kids right. I think what happens is when sisters come amongst stronger, like sisters who have a standard, we have a huge issue. Like, we have a real huge issue. And the reason is because some sisters lack standard. And why they lack standards? Because they took for advantage that what either someone was trying to teach them, whether it was a parent or a coach or any of the outside source, they took it for granted that those were traits that you needed to carry on from childhood to adulthood, though that we take for granted. And we deal with a summer camp right now called Jumps, and we just had to revamp the actual schedule for life skills. Because we have two issues going on. We have a lack of academic skills, and we have life skills where the kids are lacking. So we have to try to entertain these kids, educate these kids, and coach, mentor, and be a mama to them. Now, these are kids that have to go back to their environment where they come from. So I think we have our work cut out for us when you talk about bridging relationships between adults and children, or mothers and fathers, or parents and children. Like, we have so much to work on because somehow the cultural is lacking. And so I think that some of our people don't think that it's important. Family sticking together, teamwork, all of that is like, we're so individualized that when you hear people come back together, it's like, whoa. I bet you for one moment right now that if we took a poll in the chat, and many people say Black females can't work together. Well, it's about 8 of us on here, all of which work together. So, and do it cheerfully. So I think that a lot of times that when we talk about our relationships, especially going into business, like if we don't show that strong front-end example from a family perspective, well, so like Dr. Mayat is doing with business and her kids, and Sister Sherry is doing with her son, and Cheryl's doing with her son, and Cheryl with Stevenson with her daughter, and Janisa with her son and daughter, it would never work. And the reason I invited Lakeisha on, because I'm teaching Lakeisha business right now. She's my older cousin, and she's been with me since J High. But from a business, I have 3 of them around me right now, and only one is really taking, the lacking to the constructive criticism, to the hard work, hard charging, let's burn some midnight oil. Okay, I have to teach you this, I have to teach you that. Okay, did you finish this? Okay, you gotta hurry up with that. And then, oh, by the way, let's go hang out.
So,
and you not be mad at me, and I'm not mad at you because I abuse you.
Listen, it's a beautiful thing. I'm gonna take this opportunity, like, just to remind everybody and thank everyone so far for tuning into the show, Black Eyes TV 7, relationships in life and business, bridging the gap between the US and the UK. Yeah, it's been beautiful so far. The divine feminine is in the house and in full effect. We did do a show, just speaking on a quick point, a couple shows back with two guys. Shout out to Dean Oki and shout out to Julian Hall on what goes into being an entrepreneur. And just speaking quickly to the points that you was making, you know, in that show, we went through the fact that making money is one of the last things on the list, as opposed to all the things and qualities that you need to have within you in order to govern, manage, and sustain a business. Because it takes a lot of aspects and qualities that, as you're saying, culturally, we're lacking. Culturally, we don't have that necessary injection all the time. So it is important to focus on that whole aspect, that whole sphere of life when you're talking about business, when you're talking about the relationship side. But Terry, talk to the people about the event that's coming up. You there, Tel? You there? Okay, I don't know what's going on with Terry right now, if his mic's still on. But anyway, on the 16th of next month, yeah, I can tell everybody that they need to be down at the Cleopatra Needle, which is at Embankment, at 2 o'clock. I can't hear Terry. Can we hear him? Is he talking at the same time?
Yes, you are.
Terry. I can hear you now. No, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. See, the ladies are telling me they can hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay.
So,
yeah, all I was just saying is that we have a lot of sisters over here, and they want to know how we can bridge that gap, because, you know, it's like having two villages, and you have your sisterhood over there, and we are looking to have a sisterhood over here. And how could they collaborate in that situation, in what you do and what they do? Especially when you were speaking, like, I think it was last week, you said about something about global business. Monica, give us a little bit of information on that.
So when I speak in reference to global businesses, I think one way we can start by bridging the gap with our sisters in the UK, Dr. Maya does a show every Wednesday at 1 o'clock called The Tea Talk. We can, the sisters, we can start by inviting one another in on the show so that we can gain a relationship. I think Dr. Amos Wilson speaks that if you're going to speak about economics, you have to speak about relationships. Relationships are very important, where we show loyalty and integrity. And when you gain an understanding, and when you gain, you get a feel for someone's personality and how they go about business, or how they go about their daily lives from a social perspective and a business perspective, you feel a little bit more comfortable with doing business with them. I think the number one way that we can start a global interaction is that we have to start getting to know one another, and we can do that by joining on each other's platforms and having just normal conversations like we're having right now. You can gain a lot from someone just listening to them, just based off of how they're responding to questions. Because a lot of times, because I'm a firm believer, what's in you is going to come out of you. So if you ratchet, you're going to speak from a ratchet perspective. If you're professional, you're going to speak professionally. If you get, if you do lose a little slang here and there, I cut up from time to time, you're going to get a feel. You're going to say, you know what? Wow, that Sister Monica is all right. She ain't so bad after all. But then in the same sense, you also get an understanding if you hit that moment of contention, how do the sisters handle it? Yes, she may be easygoing. Yes, I can do business with her. She may be cool, but wait a minute, I know we don't agree on everything. And when you push that button, How do you handle conflict? What is your conflict resolution solution to handling business? Because that's going to be very important when you're talking about global business. You're talking about dealing with when I was overseas, from being in the desert, Iraq, to being in Germany, and dealing from a comptroller perspective and dealing with money, having to work with the local nationals, we had to learn the culture of the local nationals, like whatever country I was in at that time, or whatever continent I was on at that time. Like, I just can't go in doing business and speaking, handling compliance the same way, or maybe interacting in a certain manner, because the way I interact in the US may have a negative impact in the UK. So I think the relationship building from just doing normal everyday platforms, such as we already doing right now, such as Dr. Mayat does, such as what Garfield does on Black News 102, can help with that relationships. And then once we know what we each other are a part of, let's say for instance logistics, I think Sister Raziki and Sister Kia is into international are doing something in Africa, or they're doing some things from the international perspective. And so when you find out someone else already has a presence overseas, and we find out that you may have a skill set or maybe a gift or a talent that can be of assistance to that can start the journey to bridging the gap.
Okay. I'm just going to say something that we're trying to do on 16th of July. What we're trying to do in the UK is trying to create legacies. Like, I don't know if you know about the past of what Annie Garvey did by getting all the heads of states and putting them all together into one photograph. Now we're trying to do a similar thing where we call the obelisk, in where we got the embankment. I think you've got an obelisk in Central Parks in New York. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is to get people of all different organizations, people from different areas. We're getting people that are in business, all sorts, to come and take this historical photograph, which we are going to promote for a future event, so that we can show that we have a community in London. And this is what we're doing on the 16th. And we need most of all the UK people to be there at 2 p.m. sharp, 16th of July. But let's go back into what we was talking about on the topics of bridging that gap. Is in forms of products, what kind of things do they do in the States that, let's say, for instance, that you can able to import or export to the UK, and what would the Americans need vice versa from the UK?
Sister Cheryl, you want to speak to that one? Stevenson. What type of products can be shipped from the UK to the US, or the US to the UK?
She can't hear.
She's unmuted and turned up.
It's not on mute. Can you guys hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can ship any type of product, anything that the government will utilize. It can be shipped from the UK to the United States, or vice versa. So anything that the government can utilize, we can exchange goods.
Yeah, because we want to know what kind of goods do you like. Just put it in the air. What kind of goods that is very popular within the Black community over in the States, or what they would need?
Are we talking in reference to government contracting, or just
in general?
In general.
Well, that would be hair products. You know, that's the main product that the Black community utilizes. Hair products, nail, anything to do with any type of beauty regimen. That is something that we utilize here a lot in the States.
So in that perspective, do you find that you get a lot of Asians backing that stuff in competition with the Black folks over there in the States?
I think in reference to that question, I think that the Black community has to become accustomed to purchasing products from their own community. Like right now, Sister Sharon mentioned the hair products. There's a few companies right now that are starting to get aboard of selling those products. However, they aren't as visible. So our community, we have to spend a lot of time on marketing or letting our people know who has what products and where they can actually purchase them from. I think the marketing piece and the branding piece of it and getting it out into the community. So one of the ways we have done that is that when we do events, we allow those companies to vend at these events. So maybe connecting with someone to know who that is. So Sherry and I deals a lot with the government contracting piece. So if you're offering any products, we're teaching people just to do business and be able to buy those products and then sell it to whomever. So, but when we're talking about our own Black community and just selling to that community, then it's going to be a matter of that community gaining trust in the companies that they're actually buying to. So for example, I know someone who has I think it's medical supplies, right? And so that medical supplies company, of course, they have to get those supplies imported in from somewhere, or maybe even in America. So if there was a UK company, Black-owned company, that actually sold medical supplies, maybe a wholesale price, then that person can connect with them. Or let's say, for instance, we had companies that were actually that like a janitorial company. So one of my friends has a commercial cleaning company, and then someone, I think in like a Spartanburg, they created a natural cleaner product or something that they were making on their own, but it was actually approved products. And so they was trying to get their products out, and some of the products was unscented, and a lot of the government agencies had gone to unscented products. So we had government contracts. So we started purchasing our products from them, as long as those products, when we're talking about chemicals, had material data, that card that tells you how much to use, what are the chemicals about. As long as they had that information on there, or we could provide that information to someone, then we could buy the products. So I think it's a matter of marketing to our community. We have the opportunity to sell almost any product from anywhere. It's just a matter of our community gaining that loyalty and agreeing to buy.
Because what we tend to find in the UK is that we're kind of, how can I say, we're kind of very lucky, is that we tend to have people in different diasporas. So let's say, for instance, we have the Caribbean community who can get Caribbean products coming to the UK. And then we have the African community. So things like shea butter, moringa, and all that kind of stuff we get put in. Do you have people that are bringing in stuff from these countries into the Americas?
I think if we probably do, but it's probably not coming in where like everyone is aware of it. Go ahead, Dr. Maya, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that I agree that it might be here, but we don't know about it. And what I like what the brother was just saying, he said that, in the UK, they're connected with people all over. So they're connected with folks in the Caribbean, maybe folks down in Africa, and folks in the US. When they asked Sister Cheryl about a product that we need, she initially said hair. And but in my mind, I was really thinking about food, Sister Monica. We need a food carrier outside of the US. You get what I'm saying? Because we are totally, as African American people, we are totally dependent on this system to feed us. So, you know, if they have a food carrier over in the UK that could ship fruits, vegetables, fresh fish over to us, you know, we can establish a supermarket over here, and we don't have to go to the Asian to get goods. We don't have to go to the Europeans to get goods. We can get the fruits, vegetables, herbs, and fish directly from our brothers and sisters in the UK, in Africa, and in the Caribbean. So I was initially thinking about a food carrier. You know, I'm a firm believer that this revolution is going to spark off, and it's going to spark off. And when it does, the first thing that they're going to do to subdue the population is what? Starve us out. They're going to starve us out. They're going to shut down cell phone towers and things of that nature. So it is imperative that we have a food source outside of the U.S. So I was going to ask Brother Terry if you know, do they have a food supplier, you know, in the UK, maybe in the Caribbean or down in Africa? I think that's very important.
Because you see, the reason why I put the Asian into the perspective is that the Asians seem to understand the way Black people work. And when it comes to hair products, when it comes to food, they are number one.
Yes, they are.
And which they don't even come from the African land. They will go to Africa, put up the money, because they come as a collective, and buy the products and then resell it to us in the UK or in the States. Now, what I was saying is that because of how the UK works, is that we have access in that same kind of format, but we are working so much as an individual.
Right.
So what happens is we don't have the spending power to able to buy what the Asians can buy. So what I was saying is that if we are able to bridge and able to trade, so let's say, for instance, in the States, they make hair cream, which is very popular in the States. Instead of the Asians getting their hands on it, the Americans can now trade with us over in the UK, and we can say, you know what, we've got tons of shea butter, so let's trade along them lines. So I understand where you're coming with when it comes to that carrier, is that if we have a main distribution hub, then it can able to circulate everything around, as well as the Caribbean, as well as America, as well as Africa.
So we would need to identify those who can import from the logistics perspective. There's a few companies, and then can we actually bridge that from that perspective, because that will be involved. So you have the product, and then you have the logistics piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. So that's why I was looking on the terms of a form of like an international hub. So where we have this specific hub that can provide for others. So let's say Dr. Maya has her DVDs, she can push it into that distribution hub, and then it distributes to the mass. By us able to bridge into our bridges together, we can have that central hub. And that is the terms that I've always been looking at in that format, because I always believe that the distribution is our key to able to circulate round. Then we can able to go to the grassroots, where some people that don't have nothing can be able to set up a shop or a stall, and knowing that they can go to this distribution hub and get certain products and able to retail it to their own people.
So that's our homework area right there.
Yeah. So, and that is where we build in forms of relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I don't know any more that anyone else got to say on that.
I think you actually nailed it right there. Identifying the distributor.
Mm-hmm.
And the logistics of that piece, because that would be the piece, getting it from one location to another, and then having the disperse out, because we have plenty of transportation companies in the U.S. that can deliver. We have that piece.
Because even with like people like FedEx, they've kind of clocked onto some of it, and what they're doing now is that they've put this tax thing on. So like, even though you deliver something to us, we over here still got to pay a tax fee to collect the parcel that has been sent to us. So then the price of the product like that comes from the States is really high, especially when people go onto Amazon and all that. Something that costs probably $10, $20, we end up spending like 50, 60 pounds over here. So if we have that kind of central hub, then it's giving us something to able to deliver.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
Go on. Go on, Monica. You was gonna say something.
Oh yes. I said yes. That's when I was doing some research earlier. The tax it's the big piece. I know when speaking to some people and they're talking about transport from overseas, the tax piece was always the issue on how they tax us and how they tax others. We always have the highest end of the bargain. So yeah. So it leaves us to limited resources transporting back and forth.
Exactly.
However, we could, I mean, what's going on in the UK, whatever product is being done there, if we can bridge the gap by actually doing it here in the US and vice versa, and creating this partner relationship.
Because I have a friend which we have what we call it a Menelin Plus. It's like 7 different minerals, which is being made in the States, and it's a big seller over here. So we rebrand it over here. So we do that little network, but then we're looking at other aspects. As I was saying to you, is what does companies in the States need? Because they might need the raw stuff, and because we're much more closer to Africa, there's an opportunity, especially if we've got a lot of Africans in Europe, they can actually provide some of these stuff, which we can ship to you to make the product, and then able to ship back as a product format.
Or if not ship back, what about actually sell here?
Yeah.
And then then it would be a matter of currency that's going back and forth.
And then you use the currency to buy other things.
More products, yeah. Make more money.
Okay.
I think that, and I just want to interject, Brother Terry and Sister Monica. I think that he asked a good question when he said, well, what kind of products do you guys need? I think we really need to sit down and assess what we need and what we use, what we don't have here that we could get there. You get what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't want to jump and say, oh, we need, a paper towel or toilet paper distributor, and we have one in Baltimore City, Freedom Paper. Like, I want to get something from the UK that we can get here from our brothers and sisters. So I think that we need to sit down and assess what we really need at this point. So I think that wasn't like a question that we should have just, oh, well, we need this. I think we really need to sit down and think about that.
A think tank.
Yes, absolutely.
So the more that we can combine and create a form of a relationship circle, then we can able to have a think tank and know how we can trade.
Yes,
absolutely. And I also agree with Sister Monica that the sisters in the UK, we would love for them to join us every Wednesday if they are able to on Tea Talk Sisters. And Sister Monica can give you the information for the show, because that way, by dialoguing with these sisters, we can assess what their needs are, they can assess what our needs are, and then we can see how we can help one another. So we definitely, like Monica said, we got to start dialoguing more with our sisters in the diaspora. And see, that's one thing that I love about social media and the internet, is that you can connect with brothers and sisters anywhere. And so we got to use these tools to our advantage instead of snapping pictures and showing, telling your life history online and putting up videos of you having fun. We need to utilize social media while we have it, because I'm telling you, when it spark off, they're going to shut down communication. So we need to take advantage of social media and the internet while we have these tools available.
And that's what I was saying is, like I was speaking to Richie, is creating a show for you ladies, as well as the UK ladies, because like I've been getting a lot of texts like just in the past few hours that they wanted to come on board. So I was, as I was saying to Richie, is that we need to make a platform and a part 2 to what we've done here today, and continue to able to build, so that the more that we can get on board, the more that you lot can have a form of networking. And as us men, we need to back our women as soon as possible, because it's not an individual thing. It is a bunch of collectives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So Richie, go on.
Ladies, listen, we're coming up to the 2-hour mark, so we can call it a night. But before we go, I want to thank you again, but I want you all to just run through, and I just want to check first of all, has everyone put their details up where people can get them? And before you check out, everybody, if you're still there, give us a final thought or word that you want to say to your viewing public in the US and to obviously the UK public that's been tuning in.
Cheryl, are you there? Okay, I'll go and close out. Okay, thanks everybody for listening and watching. I appreciate the brothers for having us on the show. Brother Richie and Brother Terry, it's been a pleasure and an honor, I must add. And to any of the sisters out there in the UK, please link up with us with the Tea Talk Show on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Again, my name is Monica Lamb. Everybody calls me Mo. And I look forward to connecting with you guys in the future. And this was an awesome show, so thank you for having me.
Don't forget to promote your Facebook.
If you want to get in contact with me, you can reach me on Facebook, Monica. That's Monika. Last name Lamb, Lamb, on Facebook, as well as you can, if you're trying to reach me and you can't get to me, we always on Black News 102 with Sinetta, the Dagger Squad in Garfield at 6 p.m. Eastern time in the USA. And we're talking about economic development, as well as on the Tea Talk on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. with Dr. Mayat. Also, if you're interested, and if you're on the USA side, and you're interested in building your finances up or down, or just getting things together, you can reach me at molam.myecon.net. That's molam.myecon.net. Greatly appreciated, and thank you all for listening and watching.
Who's next? Who's up?
Come on.
Anyone else want to say any words before we close out?
I know Dr. Mayat has got something to say.
Oh yeah, I just want to. I hope that I wasn't that bad during the show. I tried to fall back a little bit. I think that Sister Monica did an awesome job moderating.
She made my job very easy.
Yes, I mean, we had a full panel, and so that's very, very difficult to do. And I just appreciate all the wisdom that this sister has brought to Tea Talk with the sisters, and is bringing to the world, through different platforms. So I just want to salute you, Sister Monica. I want to thank Brother Terry, and I see Black Ice TV 7. I don't see your name, but it just says Black Ice TV7. So
Brother Richie.
So I want to thank you, Brother Richie and Brother Terry, for having a vision to put together this show and bridge the gap, especially between the sisters, because it's nothing like, I remember reading in Chancellor Williams' book, The Destruction of the Black Civilization. He said that anytime the African civilization fell, it was always the women, he said, that would come back and help put it back on top. And so when you get women together, when you get that divine feminine energy together, it's unstoppable. And so I appreciate you guys having the vision to put together this show. Thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to many, many more discussions.
Definitely.
Anyone else?
Okay. I would just like to say thank you to everyone for welcoming me on the show. I was kind of hesitant about coming to watch the show because, like Monica said, I am the only younger one. So I was like, is this going to be something I want to listen to? Am I going to be interested in it? But it actually was very helpful, especially when Dr. Maya, is that how you pronounce it? Dr. Maya was
Yes,
speaking on the whole mothering and the whole children aspect, because like I said, I am a mother, I'm a child, and I come from the home where, you have that broken home, and I'm like, I don't want to go that route with my child. And I've always said, before I even had a child, it's going to be different. And this is just kind of helping me and pushing me in the right direction on what I need to do for that. And then business wise, that's also helping me because, like I've said, I'm with my cousin Mo, and she's helping me. But to hear from other people's perspective is also like another step in the right direction. So thank y'all for having me on the show today.
Definitely.
I'm so happy that the young sister was on the show. You know what I mean? We gotta, as I always say, we gotta mother other mothers and bring them on up. And so I'm just happy that she joined us. A young mom, she could be out doing anything right now, but she decided to, to expand her horizon, to expand her knowledge base. And so I just salute you, young sister, for being on the show today.
Definitely.
Sister Cheryl? Sister Janisa?
Yes, hi. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure. I really appreciate being on this panel and listening. I've learned over the years, I gain more knowledge if I keep my mouth closed and my ears open. But then I can in turn impart to those coming under my tutelage. I do appreciate it. All the wisdom that was on the show today. And Dr. Mayat, you're just like phenomenal. I follow you and listen to you all day long, every day. So
Thank you.
I feel so privileged to be on the same panel with you.
No, likewise, sis.
So again, to Brother Terry and Brother Richie, thank you for inviting us and allowing us to have this opportunity to share with the sisters over in the UK. And I do look forward to us bridging that gap between the UK and the US and working with the sisters over there.
Definitely.
Last but not least, Cheryl.
Okay. I was trying to get in. Well, I was trying to get in and my mouse was stuck. But anyway, I definitely appreciate being on the show. Learned a lot as usual, and look forward to being on the show many more times. And thanks for having us again.
Well appreciated.
Definitely. Thank you to everybody that's been watching. Yeah. Again, check out these sisters on their own individual platforms and places where they've put out to reach them. Rewatch this show for pointers. Thank you all for joining us. This is another Black Eyes TV 7 production. I am starting to enjoy this live show bit. Definitely.
But one more thing.
What are you going to remind me?
Remember that it's the 16th. We need everybody down 16th. At the obelisk.
Cleopatra, Needle, Embankment, Obelix. Be there 2 o'clock sharp. Don't forget, bring your banner, bring your representation of your organization, your set. Yeah, show that we have a thriving community here in the UK doing this thing. Yeah. Show these people in America what we're doing and how we do it. Yeah, even though we're the size of New York State, in its entirety.
Probably the size of Central Park.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Trust me. Yeah, but we've got to bring that energy to the day. So, again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to my co-host, Mr. Riggs. And
UK tour guide to the rest of the world.
Tell them. That's what you do.
Yep, I taught everyone around the world and back.
That's all. And you know what we do here at Black Eyes TV? We bring you that information, yeah, all day long. Convert it, take it, change it into wisdom, and hopefully have a better day. Take care, everyone. Thank you again.
Peace.